Hello. In this video, I'm going to show you how to install a very basic web server for PHP development on Windows 10. Now, there's a lot of different options that you can go with. You could use something like XAMPP, but I personally prefer a product by the Apache friends called XAMPP. So I'm going to open up my Google Chrome, and I'm going to type in XAMPP, and Google should bring up the very first listing of ApacheFriends.org. If you come to their website, you'll see that you can download it for many different platforms. I personally choose Windows if I'm on Windows. If I'm on Linux or Mac, I tend to not use XAMPP. I tend to use, on OS 10, I'll use Brew to install Apache and PHP. On Linux, I'll use Ubuntu with apt-get to download the servers. But for Windows, your best bet is to just get one of these all-in-one installations, which is exactly what XAMPP does. And the reason why it's XAMPP is that the first letter of this acronym usually represents the operating system, but because XAMPP works across different operating systems, they just put an X there. The other letters stand for Apache, MySQL, then normally PHP, but it can also stand for Python. It depends on what your project actually is. So now I've got XAMPP downloaded. I'm going to click on the installation file, and I'm going to say yes. And I'm just going to work through the installation. So I'm going to choose next. I'm going to leave MySQL installed. I'm going to leave Tomcat because I may want to do some Java development here. I'm going to leave Perl. I'm going to leave all of this installed. You don't really need it all. The very basics for a typical XAMPP setup would be just MySQL and PHP because Apache will be installed by default. But I'll leave them all. I'm just going to put it directly on my root. So C:/XAMPP. I'm going to hit next. And I'm going to uncheck that block and choose next, next, and it's going to start installing. I'm going to pause the video while it actually installs. Towards the end of the installation, you may get a warning that Windows Firewall is blocking some features. You'll probably want to allow access so that your Apache server can be accessed. If you're on a restricted computer, then you may not want to allow that access. But for local development, it's generally a good idea so that you can actually access some of the files that you're creating through your web browser. So now I'm going to go ahead and say yes, I want to start the control panel. And you'll notice that I do have all of my applications listed right here. I'm going to go ahead and choose Start. It's going to tell me that Apache shut down, and it's probably because of a port. You'll want to look at what ports are being run. If you have Skype running, that tends to block port 80, which is what Apache runs on. Another issue may be administrator access. So just to make sure that you are running everything as an administrator, you'll want to go to the actual folder. Remember, we put it in C:/XAMPP. You want to come down to the control panel, right-click, Run as administrator, choose yes, and then hit Start next to Apache. You'll see that it's listening on port 80 and 443, which means you should be able to open up a browser and go to localhost, and you see that you are actually getting files. This localhost is going to serve up any files that are hosted through your server on your local machine. You can also start up MySQL if you need it, or FileZilla, but if all you are doing is PHP work, then this should be sufficient, the Apache install. You can choose config to edit the very basic configuration files. You can also choose admin if you wanted to go through some of the dashboards that they have available. PHP info is a great link to click on, because the other thing that this will do is it'll make sure that PHP installed completely on your machine. But so the question is going to come up, where are the files that are actually being served here? And if you come over to your XAMPP folder that we were just in, and you choose your htdocs folder, you'll see that you have some different files in here. So if I was going to create a new folder, we'll call testing install. Oh, we'll just call it testing. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to right-click, choose new, and we'll just go with a text document. We'll call it test.php. And because the way that I have this set up, it didn't actually change the extension here. So I want to choose View and choose File Name Extensions. Get rid of this .text, so it's actually a PHP file. And I want to right click, and I'm going to choose Open With. I could come down to Notepad right here, and I'm just going to put in some PHP and say echo saluton. I'll hit save, and now I've got my htdocs testing, so I want to go to localhost testing/test.php, and there it is. So now I have a working PHP installation. Now, obviously, Notepad probably isn't the best solution. So if you're on Windows, you'll want to look at maybe downloading something like Sublime Text or Notepad++. You could use Eclipse if you'd like. That may be a little heavy if all you're doing is PHP and JavaScript, but I leave that up to you.